Welcome to this episode of Preeminence Rising. The House of Preeminence is the conscious media platform, magazine, and educational empire and movement for women change makers who want to thrive as much as they want to make a difference. Every Wednesday, my Preeminence Posse, come online and share with you their amazing wisdom, their tips, their techniques, things that you need to really help your best life, your best potential, and help humanity rise right now, which is the topic today. These are spontaneous conversations, no rehearsal. This is real-time conversation. We never know quite what's going to come out of people's mouths. It's always fascinating, and it's my great pleasure. I am your host, the founder of the House of Preeminence, and it's my great pleasure to introduce today my three posse members. Girls, which if you wouldn't mind just keeping your mics muted when you're not talking, because there is a little bit of an echo. So with me today on the Preeminence Rising episode is Yvette Taylor, who is a founder of the most incredible energy alignment method. Yeah, I always sounds like University Challenge on this bit. The energy alignment method is a tool, a fantastic tool that you can use to regulate your vibration, your moods, your energy, so that you can manifest everything that you want in your life. Also joining me today is Gina Lazenby, aka the Healthy Home Expert, a master of Feng Shui and everything about healthy spaces and healthy homes. She is also an advocate for strong feminine, gender equality, all sorts of amazing causes. She is on our side. She's on all of our sides, actually. She has an incredible breadth of wisdom and leadership throughout her history. She has many, many accolades. And joining me today is Dawn Bates, our adventurous global nomad leader, author, molecule shaking, multiple best-selling author and publisher and human rights activist. And she also wears many, many hats. All of these ladies are influencers. They all thrive in their craft. So I bring you the best, the preeminent best on the House of Preeminence. And today is a topic that is on everybody's minds. Well, certainly women. There are whispers, echoes, shouts, cries, screams all over the world about what is happening in the world. Women everywhere, even if they're not change makers, are feeling the need to step up to help humanity rise. Sometimes we feel when we're on our own, what can I do? I feel so alone. What can I do to make a difference? What can I do to change? Well, we're going to give you many, many ways that you can do that. So the whole topic today is how can femininity in itself heal humanity? Now, this is a really important topic. I read something a couple of days ago on Facebook with a really beautiful spiritual women leader who was talking about femininity being the medicine for the world. And that's absolutely struck me. So medicine for the world, ladies. What do you think about that? Who would like to kick off with that topic?
Unmuted. I love the idea of femininity, medicine for the world. I would make an adjustment to that. How I would phrase that is feminine values, because there's two things going on. And I used to have a radio show called The Rise of the Feminine, and I was really and I created that show from traveling around the world and seeing how women were rising in leadership positions, often in Australia, seeing Julia Gillard as Prime Minister there in that very masculine culture. And at the same time, I would see a shift in the way men operated, and there was a rise in the values that were feminine. So there's an expression of the feminine in men. It's, you know, for me, the conversation is not just about how women will take leadership positions, because for so long women are criticized as soon as they get to the top. You know, they talk about the glass ceiling. Well, there was I think, at the glass cliff, where you get to the top and then you become the scapegoat. It's very difficult to create change in the masculine culture. So I think it's interesting to look at how women are rising and getting acceptance, but also we see among the masculine systems and among men a rise in feminine values, kindness, compassion, different leadership styles. And so I think that's really interesting to look at those two aspects of it, would be my opening introduction and contribution.
I like that. Yes, feminine values. Ladies?
Yeah,
I'll take that up.
Happy to jump in on that one. What a beautiful way to frame up the feminine values for me. Is ultimately it comes down to love. And I think I wrote about this in the last magazine, and I'm on my high horse about this forever. And I know we all are. For me, it's about moving the world to a place of love. It's not just about femininity, but about us all reconnecting to one another and to ourselves. It's been boxed under the label of femininity because in the past, I suppose, women tend to be the more loving, the more nurturing. You know, they're not the ones off out doing the fighting necessarily. But this is something that needs to be embodied throughout everyone and everything. Everything that we see happening is coming from a place of fear. Ultimately, it is the old paradigm falling away. We all know that. I know it's something that we all acknowledge, but for me, it is about coming into that place of love. The new paradigm, the new earth, the thing that every single person on this planet wants is to feel loved, to feel nurtured, and feel connected. There isn't a single person on the planet who doesn't want that. They might be expressing it in some weird and wonderful ways, but underneath all of it, we all want to get back to that place of love. And I know it can sound really woo-woo and really wishy-washy and, oh yeah, let's all just love each other. But truthfully, that's the journey that we need to go through in order to heal this internalized trauma, pain that is present within so many people, is finding that place of love. And I hope it's not going to be, but sadly, I think it's going to be a bit of a bumpy, that's my polite way of saying it, journey to get there. But that is ultimately where the world is moving to. And it looks a little bit clouded at the minute, but I definitely think it's coming.
It's going to be to do with the critical mass of people. There are so many movements, you know. There isn't just bad news out there. That's the thing. It's the mediatizing of bad news. So in inverted commas, and the crises and the chaos and everything, and that is what gets fed at us. So naturally, that that gets blown up. We have to go out and seek all of the good news, as we as leaders know. We have to go and seek it out, and then once, of course, you start to seek it out, you find evidence of the most incredible initiatives, organizations, non-profits, philanthropic initiatives, so many leaders and celebrities and singers and actors and documentaries and films and everything is actually happening to rebalance that. So it's this whole ideal of returning to the values of love is not as far out there as the media would have us believe, because if what we hear is to be believed, then nobody wants us to get together. Nobody wants a united humanity. It's not in the interests of certain powers that be that we have this unification. So our job as women, and we are, I think, naturally inclined to this tendency, is peacemakers within ourselves, against the trauma, as you mentioned, that everybody has experienced, and then peacemakers within our families. That's important, and our communities and our friends, and then the bigger picture. So it all starts with us, and it starts with being the change, and tapping into the value of love in our own lives as we move forward and create our initiatives. Ms. Mermaid, would you like to jump in there?
Yeah, I'm chomping at the bit. Yvette can tell. Let me go. Quite a few things that have come up for me. I'm going to address something that Gina, I think it was you, that said that sometimes what we're doing isn't expressed as love. No, that might have been you, Yvette, but I wrote down something that I read when I was coaching children and teaching, that sometimes the most loving of children ask for it in the most unloving of ways, and those who are deserving of love sometimes ask for it in the most unloving of ways. But I think one of the things that we need to actually address here is the difference between feminism today, feminism of what it was truly is, and the femininity, because there are a lot of women out there that are they're declaring that they want rights for women and that we're all this, that, and the other, and these different adjectives of how we describe ourselves. We're alienating and emasculating men in the process of stepping into our femininity. I mean, I was a tomboy and I grew up, climbing trees, trainers, combats, and I hid my femininity for a very long time. I felt that if I used my feminine charms to get ahead in business by sleeping my way to the top. We had this in the 80s and in the 90s, the compulsory cleavage shot that a lot of women wear or promote on social media. It's not necessary. We have a mind which is valuable. We have these beautiful energies. We have this men and women have the divine feminine energies, and I think what we have to be is very, very careful how we define this, because when we say that kindness, compassion, and empathy and love are feminine, we're not saying that it's only to the females that are embodying this. Men are some of the most kind. I mean, like I was talking to Liana the other day, the 3 P's of massive men: protection, procreation, and what was the other one? Protection, provision. And this is the thing, they do want to provide for us, they do want to protect us, and they do want to procreate, and this thing we have to remember and be very careful how we're describing femininity. It's not just in the way we dress and the way we come across. And I also believe that we have to look at how we're defined as strong women. We used to be called the boss bitches or the alphas. I'm not a bitch. I'm a very lovely woman, and I'm very kind, and I'm very driven, because I am providing for my family. I'm providing a lifestyle for myself. And I think we need to be really clear on how we really identify these words and how we're using them as we move forward.
I agree, Dawn. There's so much about language you can trip over by saying you're a feminist, and what does that mean? I think I'm just, we need to arrange an inclusive conversation, because I've been to an event in San Francisco or somewhere. Well, 5,000 women there, and there were a few men. And I was doing my radio show at the time. I sought out the men to interview them. Why are you here? And they wanted to say, how could they help women? Which is, so few men were there. It was a brilliant thing. How can I help women? And ask for help. But I think a key thing for me is that in the cultural shift, because there's a shift happening, there's no question about it. And what's our individual role, and how do we align our organisations and take part in this shift? It's about giving men permission to exhibit or experience the things which are seen as feminine. Being kind and compassionate, showing your emotions is just one corner of the feminine, the female. But it's a human way of reacting. I remember when Andy, can't remember his second name, but the British gold winner at Wimbledon.
Andy Murray.
Andy Murray. So when he was first at the final, the first time we've had a man at the final in tennis for decades, he didn't win the first time, and he cried when they interviewed the loser. He cried. And somebody in the press criticised him, some stupid man up or whatever. I was deeply moved by it, but he was just so much emotion was engaged in it. Everybody wanted to win. He did win the following year, but he expressed it. And it was great that he could, because it's the first time I've seen a winner or loser cry. And we see more of this, and we have to give men the space to just be authentic, to feel and express. And I love to see on TV shows now where men kiss each other, they hug. They are being friendly, they're showing their brotherhood. There's a wonderful demonstration of emotion, and I think so much is engaged with that dance show where men are dancing and doing things that previously you could say that men didn't do, only a few men. And I think that's a key thing, is that we women as a culture, we all have to let men show up with their emotions and express how they feel, and make that possible, particularly in corporate and business environments, and let them show up as a whole human.
Yeah, I love how you're distinguishing the femininity from feminism and some of the not so positive attributes of the previous feminist movement, but that is now shifting as well, as we do what we're talking about here, which is embracing more feminine values, and that it means men embracing more feminine values, as you ladies have been talking about. So one of the key things that I see here is that for such a long time, certainly in Western culture and Western civilization, not in indigenous peoples, women have started to be split and isolated in their family units, whereas before, when it was more village or tribal or clan or whatever, women gathering was normal. Women gather and men gather too, but we're different, so we like gathering with our own kind. And whether we're celebrating the seasons or our cycles or births and deaths and rituals, and just celebrate, but we have lost that tradition of sisterhood so much, which is now why, with women coming together in business and movements, women are saying, "Oh my goodness, I have missed this for so long. I have yearned to be with a group of women for so long, to be working together, to be collaboration. Now, there's nothing negative about that, and it doesn't stop men doing their own thing either. It just means that there's this whole rebalancing, and I just would love to just ever so quickly tell the prophecy that Lynn Twist shared with us in the first edition of the House of Preeminence, about a Cherokee prophecy whereby there is an eagle that has been flying around with a broken wing, a right broken wing, for millennia. And because it's got one broken wing, it's been flying around in circles and can never soar. Whereby the prophecy says, and this is indigenous peoples who see this wisdom, that with what's happening now, the left wing is unfolding so that the eagle, which is humanity, can actually get this uplift and rise. That to me is just the most beautiful metaphor and the most beautiful image as we find this other part of ourselves. Men find their more feminine part, women also balance with some masculine, the right masculine, and we work together, and the eagle will soar, which is humanity.
For me, I think I love. Just, we both unmuted. You go, Dawn.
Right.
Sorry,
then, I'm going to jump in on this one. the reason why I wanted to jump in on this is, as somebody who deals a lot in human rights, and everything that I've ever done has been built on human rights, because I don't like bullies. Didn't like them at school and haven't liked them in the corporate world. And as you'll read in the January issue, my article is, we're talking about community and the betrayal of women against women and how we've held each other back for a long period of time. One of the things that I get asked about a lot, though, is I read your articles and there's all this stuff that I know about that's happening in the world. How do I deal with it? How do people get involved? Because it's so overwhelming. And how do I always manage to show up with a smile on my face? And how am I always so happy when I'm in this darkness of human rights violations and traumas and corruption? And the thing is that because I'm looking for a solution, I'm looking to collaborate with people, I'm looking to work with people. Let's find a solution. We have identified this. And in one of my recent articles on LinkedIn, I was talking about how here in Colombia, one of the prison officers and the prison leaders, they actually, beauty pageants are a huge thing here in Colombia. It's part of their culture. There is beauty queens for everything. Like you wouldn't, I mean, I've been surprised at how many beauty pageants you can have, you know, like what the heck is going on here? And in the West, we tend to look down on them a lot now because they degrade women, is what an issue we have. But these women in the penitentiary, one of the worst women's prisons in the world, the prison minister actually said to them, let's do a beauty pageant within the prison. So for me, I wasn't looking at the fact that these women are in prison because they've had to steal to pay for food for their families. And being in this space, it is about looking for the solution. But these prison guards have said, you know what, let's do a beauty pageant for these women. They got to celebrate each other. They got to feel beautiful for a day. They were allowed, they had celebrities come in, a beauty pageant, queen come in, teach them how to walk. And watching the sisterhood of these women that are in prison, they've had everything about them stripped away, most of the time because they're at the because the Colombian government haven't given them the resources and the extreme poverty here. But when we look for the solutions, the overwhelm falls away. And even if it's just a tiny step that we're doing, writing an article, reaching out to people like me, how can I help? Or writing our story in a book, this is what we do. Or, you know, how can I collaborate with people and not be afraid of reaching out to people and saying, how can I help? How can I get involved? That is when we look at the solutions, and it's not bad news. We're saying, this is what we're doing. This is what I'm aware of. Come and I'm inviting you to come and be part of the solution. And I think that the more we show up for each other, the more men show up for us. The more we say, I am a strong, independent woman who is also soft and squishy in all the right places, then men will show up for us. You know, they want to help us. They want to see women rise. It takes the pressure off them as well, half the time. You know, they're not just a bank account.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I love what you said about the three P's of men, and absolutely, this is certainly not about men bashing. It, you know, it isn't. We've got over that. Just
men
like
are lovely.
we're over it.
I would like there's a fourth P in my mind, but I'll keep quiet. It's not that conversation.
Not today, but we've got over that, and women don't have that kind of a conversation about how men have effed it up. Just like it's not. It is just feeling into the things that you've been talking about, our feminine values, increasing love, and working together. So, ladies, if people watching this can, you know, go, oh, well, I want to do something. What can I do? What can I do? I'm just me. Like I know that there's so much happening that is upsetting and anguishing, and I don't know how to cope with it. What would you advise?
I can go on that one, definitely.
Yeah.
Find your place of alignment, like wherever you are. It touches back in on what we were talking about earlier. Everything in this world. I love Chinese philosophy, and the Cherokee story that you just shared so beautifully shares how everything in this world needs the left wing and the right wing. And I don't mean that from a political perspective. The yin and the yang. An aeroplane cannot fly without both wings. There is night, there is day, there is the sun, there is the moon, there is the light, there is the dark. And what we need to bring, it's not about necessarily femininity or the feminine values coming in to do something that the masculine can't do. It's the way in which both of them come together and work together. And that's the point, is they haven't been working together. It's been such a masculine, disempowered masculine space, that now what we need to bring is the empowerment for both the masculine and the feminine, and allow the feminine to come in and do what we do so well. And at the same time, Dawn, you touched on this so beautifully, allow the men to do what they do so well without the pain. It's not what we're doing, it's the way that we do it. And I know that little song always pops up in our head, but it's how we all show up each and every day. And finding places, really simple things, finding places where you're tuned into the good news starts you off in such a better space. Being that person that smiles at somebody, being that person that starts a conversation, being that person that reaches out to someone, being that person who recognizes that even in the midst of all of this, when someone's screaming, when they're shouting, when they're in pain, when they're pointing the finger, it's their internal stuff. It's not them. It's the fact that they need that place of safety, love, and comfort. And I'm saying this to myself as much as I'm saying it to everyone else. You know, I've had those moments when I'm watching on social media and I'm like, okay, let's take a step back. Like, let's come from a place of love. What's the most loving thing I can do here? If this is the only thing I ever get to do, what's the most loving thing I can do here to share my truth without pointing the finger, without name calling, but to share the truth? Because I think one of the biggest problems right now is so many people have gone into silence. They're scared to speak. They're scared to be judged. They're scared to show up. And when they do, it often comes out in that disempowered way. So speaking up, coming from a place of love, being loving. And did I mention love anywhere along the way? Like that for me, those are the pieces of the puzzle for me that we just need to keep on being that place that people can look to, because otherwise it looks very bleak everywhere else.
I love that. And so practical. Go ahead, Gina.
Well, I would add that, I mean, for well over 10 years, I hosted a women's gathering community in London. In fact, as I traveled, I hosted one in San Francisco and Sydney and other places. And the London group, who, you know, meet less frequently now. Once a year we have a reunion, but for a number of years we met monthly. And there are a lot of those women were... they'd left their corporate life, they were starting out on their own, and it's a lonely thing, man or woman. And so we built each other up. We saw things in each other that we didn't see in ourselves. We empowered each other. We tried out each other's products and services. We gave each other great feedback. And over that long period of time, I saw the individuals in that community grow. So to be in a community of women, however large or small, to be in a gathering, a circle, a Sangha group, a community call, support each other, share. And that is the most valuable thing you can do. Precious, just 4 of you. I have a circle of 4. I have a larger circle. Here we are as a circle. See things within each other, because we do need to, you know, it can be a cruel world out there. Patriarchy has been running the show for a long period of time, patriarchy being different to the individual men. So there's a lot of things that work against women. So we have got to be stronger and supporting each other doing that. And I think, you know, women's gatherings and communities are vital to support each other, as are men's gatherings too. That's another conversation we could have another night or another occasion, Jenny, about how men come together and, you know, what's changing in masculinity. But I'd say build each other up, be generous and supportive of each other.
Lovely. Absolutely. Dawn?
Well, I have a rule that I live by: create before I consume. That is before I get up in the morning, before I have anything to, before I take anything in, I create my day. I create emails that I want to send out. I write. I create a positive mindset. I create, joy in my body. And whether it's because the moment we start consuming everything else that everybody is throwing at us, we lose our own power when we wake up in the morning, whether that's masculine or feminine. And I'd like to, and create gratitude for everything you don't have, as well as everything you do have, and look for the gratitude in the pain. But I would also like to add that women don't emasculate men. Wounded girls emasculate men, and we need to understand that, because if we find that we're emasculating men, that's because there is a deep wound from our inner child. There's a deep wound within us that needs that love that Yvette talks about, and only when we love that inner child do we then stop blaming other people, because we also have to remember that when we point the finger at somebody else, there's always 3 pointing back at us.
I like that.
I love that. Create before we consume. That's going to become my new mantra. Thank you, Dawn.
You're welcome. Invoices in the post. Well, it's not, but we don't do post anymore, do we?
Beautiful wisdom, ladies, and really some superb insights and superbly doable straight away tips and tips for people to go forward. So I just want you to know that you can find the wisdom of these ladies every single month in the House of Preeminence magazine, which is going across the bottom. I'm going to put the URL. It is called the House of Preeminence, being dubbed the Vogue of Feminine High Performance, as the most stunning, beautiful and powerful feminine high performance magazine in the world. Help yourself to a better life, it says. So come and join us. I'm going to put the URL. We are all about collaboration and supporting women, and every single issue is an absolute encyclopedia of wisdom to help you and support you thrive, not just in these changing times, but help you realize your highest potential while you're making a difference in your family, making a difference in the world. There is no difference, but we are here for you. There are so many free resources. We have got other broadcasts. We've got a Facebook group. Come and find us on Facebook page, House of Preeminence. Our Facebook group is Preeminence Rising, where you can meet these ladies and directly. And again, they are here for you, for your highest life. Each one of them, that we are 8, 9, soon to be 10. So there is everything. There is wealth. There is relationships. There is wellness. There are recipes. There is style. We have everything that women like, and it's all about you living your highest life as your most quintessential self, with all your genius, with all your grace, and with all your greatness. So thank you for tuning in to us today. You can find us on social media every Wednesday. We call it the Preeminent Powwow. We'll be live streaming to Facebook and YouTube, and from January to the whole world, actually, to Roku and Apple and Amazon and just about everywhere. So look out for us, Preeminence Rising. Join the movement. We are creating a movement for women just like you. So come and join us, and thank you. Drop some comments in below this video, wherever you find it. Let us know if this has spoken to you, and if you'd like some more information. But for now, from my ladies, Yvette Taylor, Gina Lazenby, Dawn Bates, and myself, Jenny P, thank you so much, and wishing you the most gorgeous day, Christmas transition into the new year. Bye-bye.